Hi guys, I'm James. Thank you for coming to watch, and today is the start of a new journey for me. I don't know if it's going to be a really long journey or a really short one. These things tend to just happen as they happen. You'll have seen from the title, I'm looking for a new dream guitar. Now, that's not to mean that I don't have a whole load of dream guitars in my mind, but sometimes until you're in a position to actually be able to fulfill that sort of long-held dream, then you don't really know which one you're going to go for. As it happens, this year, when I got back into playing the guitar, I managed to buy a couple of great guitars. But partly that was out of a sense of what should my collection look like? What should I have to play, and what, potential sounds. And the thing about guitars for me is, of course, priority is playing them and hearing them. But secondly, I enjoy the sort of history and the aspect of collecting and looking at the guitars. And frankly, as far as I'm concerned, it's a very healthy hobby and place to put your money. I mean, unlike cars, that you don't have massive repair bills and servicing costs or huge insurance bills or potentials for accidents, massive depreciation, frankly, my wife's pretty happy that I'm up here in my room playing my guitar more than anything else. So I bought my Telecaster and I bought my Paul Reed Smith, both of which I love, both of which I'll probably keep forever. I think I'm that sort of person in terms of guitars. Like, once you've got a guitar, you just keep it. I mean, I've got this this Strat here, which I've had now since I was a little kid, really. I got this when I was about 11 or 12, and that's it for me in terms of this guitar. It will always be with me unless a strap comes off like that and it breaks. Although this guitar has been through absolute trashing over the years, which is something I love about it. But now is the time to buy my next dream guitar. This is a guitar that will excite me and make me smile every time I look at it, which, all the guitars I've got, all the main guitars, my Strat, my Tele, my Paul Reed Smith, my Gold Top, they do. I'm looking for even one notch above that, something really collectible, something fantastic. Okay, so what I've done, this is the episode about what choices there are in front of me. There isn't a specific budget. I will be using some element of finance to buy this, so each person is different on what's affordable. So what I've got here is I'm gonna show you what I've put on my shortlist, give you a very brief reason why it's there, and then very soon, hopefully in the next couple of weeks after this goes out, I will make a decision and there will be an unveiling. So let's go for it. Okay, guitar number one. This takes me back to being a kid, 15 years old, owning my white Strat. I think I had an Epiphone SG at the time, which I loved. Must buy another one of those. And at the time, I was quite into the sort of Steve Vai and Joe Satriani sort of thing. So I thought, at that time, I wasn't into like any sort of semi-hollows or even Les Pauls at that point. I thought, they're for the older guys. And this guitar was the one. At the time, I thought, God, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, it is still beautiful. This Steve Vai signature model in Stallion White. The price has considerably gone up. I feel like these were still about £1,800 or £2,000 though back then when I was looking, nearly 20 years ago. But if you look at it, I mean, the fretboard is stunning. I mean, everything about it is beautifully designed. I think one thing about Ibanez guitars is they just are so playable. I've got my vintage one, which, it's from a different era and it fulfills a different role, but still the neck is so comfortable. It's absolutely fantastic. And look at this hardware. I mean, it's stunning. So, I put this on the short list. It's definitely an option. I think one reason I may not get this right now, if I don't, is it's not my style of playing, as such. This is more a guitar that I think looks fantastic. It must sound great. I know it does. I've heard people playing it, and it will be beautiful to play. It will be so much fun. It must be really, I imagine it's got a really quick sort of neck to it, really comfortable. I mean, some great music has been made on this guitar, but I'm not really into that sort of, I don't know what you call it anymore, progressive sound. So let's move on to the next one. Here we go. Okay, so I am a Strat person through and through. I mean, I love Tellys, Les Pauls, ES guitars. But really, if I could only ever have one, it would probably be a Strat. Probably, I say, because some days you pick up a Les Paul and that's all you want. And I'm really up for a vintage Strat, but I don't know if I'm ready to pay 12, 15 grand for a guitar yet. If my playing deserves it even. So I've been looking at this Anderton spec one, which is a 2-tone burst. And then I've been looking at this custom shop, also custom shop, but not the Anderton's one, in 3-tone burst. But I don't know about relicking on the body. I sort of want the wear and tear on a guitar to come from me. I mean, I've had this guitar for 20 odd years, and there are some dings in it. You know, for nearly 10 years, this was played a lot. I mean, you know, 4 or 5 days a week, sometimes for months on end. And really, obviously the finishes were probably different in the 80s compared to the 50s and 60s. So maybe those wore more, but the paint doesn't really come off like that on my guitar. I know it must do on other people's when they're gigged especially. But this has only been gigged a little bit. So looking at these, I mean, they are wonderful. I've actually played one of these 59s in the shop. And there was a guy in there who was playing one, and he said he'd bought one the year before and he just loved it. So even when he comes in the shop, he still picks one up to play. You can see down here they come in different colours. I mean, that would be hilarious, I think, if let's look at this one. Because my telly over here, if you haven't been on the channel before and seen it, I have actually seriously thought about getting the same spec on a Strat. I think that's something I really want to do one day. Whether that's my next one or not, I'm not sure. It says here more stock arriving soon anyway, so I'm not sure if they'll have it in stock. But if you look at that spec and this spec, I think that could work on my wall. But going back to the Sunburst, the next Strat I buy, whether it's now or in the near future, I really do think it will be a burst. I never liked a burst when I was a kid. I always thought the white, being Jimmy's colour, was great. But then I've seen him on older tapes playing bursts and black guitars and everything. So who knows, even red ones. So yeah, that's the Strat side. I will always lust after a Strat, a good Strat, because I think so much great music has been made on that guitar. And so for me, you know, it's a dream guitar to have. So these are definitely on the short list. Okay, the next thing. I've been toying with an ES the whole time that I've been back into guitar. I just think one of the most beautiful designs ever. And they just sound fantastic. Whoever I hear playing well on an ES, I just always think they have just chosen the right gear at that moment. If you watch Tom Bukovac videos, he's often playing his burst ESs from their, I think they're 58s. He's got a couple of them even. They are stunning guitars. And when I bought my Paul Reed Smith, which is a semi-hollow, I was playing with a 335 in the shop, and I went back and forth for about 2 hours between the two. And really the deciding factor on Paul Reed Smith for that particular guitar was the fact it was limited edition. The fact that it is amongst the most perfect sort of instruments I've ever come across, that Paul Reed Smith, in make and in sound. And that I know I will buy 335s, plural, in the future, and so I'm going to wait for the perfect one. And I do like the cherry. I've picked that out here. But actually maybe a natural one would be even more up my street. So I've been looking at the Collings. I know there are obviously natural Gibsons, but the other semi hollow that I'm looking at are these I-35. Not necessarily the LC, which that's the laminated body. That's a lighter guitar. But it could be. I'd have to go and play one, I think, which is a bit difficult at the moment given the way businesses are working. But things are coming back as we speak. This is a stunning guitar. And I know that on the pedal show, Mick's got one. sounds fantastic. He's a great, I really look up to his playing. I think for a non-professional musician, he's really great. And these are potentially the best 335s in the world. Saying that, I would always want to have a Gibson as well. If you're going to buy some other semi-hollow 335 style, I feel like I need a Gibson as well. I love the brand. I love that it's coming back to its best. I love, the history of it and who's played it and that connection you get. So I feel like maybe before I get a Collings, I need to get a Gibson. But this is one of those guitars in the world, it's probably one of the best of its type in the world, this Collings guitar. And one day, perhaps, it will sit behind me over here. Who knows? Okay, we've got a few more to go. So we have... maybe the dream guitar since I was a kid. I'm going to bring up the next... that's not the intended... One moment. Let's go back to Gibson. I wanted to compare the 59 with the 60. These are the 60th anniversary. Let's open this one. These are the 60th anniversary guitars, which they have done a fantastic job on. I've been in Anderton's and I've had a look at the 59. I don't think I plugged it in. I just picked it up. I was too scared. I didn't have $5,000 on me that day. Well, no, that's a lie, because I did buy the Telly and the Paul Reed Smith. I didn't have $5,000 for one guitar that day, that's for sure. I'm not sure I will necessarily have $5,000 for one guitar, but that's what this journey is about. What can I become comfortable with? And, part of having the dream guitar is that, you can, if you can afford it and you can enjoy it without worrying too much, then anyone should get whatever they want. Okay, so the difference between these 59s and 60s, well, I suspect the neck profile is really different. So this is a medium C shape. This neck carve is sure to appeal to the purists, offering a substantial yet comfortable feel. Well, my 50 standard gold top is supposed to have a pretty large neck, and I don't find it big at all. And I find that there's something about the width of a Fender neck, even though the profile on this is really thin. The Les Pauls aren't actually as big as people make out. I don't know why I'm seeing that differently from a lot of other people. Okay, so this is the 59 Cherry T-Burst. Jimmy Page is my ultimate guitar hero, just above Jimi Hendrix. I grew up on Led Zeppelin and watching videos and listening to the records that my dad had on vinyl. My dad used to go and watch them when he was young. He saw them 3 nights in a row at Wembley, I believe. And so having a 59 has always been my dream. And I thought one day I'd own a real 59. I didn't know that they would be worth the same as a small flat in the centre of London. But I like what Gibson have done here. And I like the reviews. And I like the sound. I listened to a demo on Peach Guitars. Go and find that one. They've got a really great demo player on Peach. He's pretty technical in the way he talks as well, which... sometimes you want a fun Anderton's type video, and sometimes you want someone who's really going in depth into the tones and what it's all about. What I love about this, and it's the same with the 60, they've got the same Alnico 3 unpotted, which are supposed to be as much like the PAFs as possible. And I'm interested in these potentiometers because, like, for example, on my gold top, the pots are not so sensitive. As you go down, it doesn't always do a lot. I'm getting goosebumps looking at this. This would just be a massive decision. I'd have to choose over the 60. My heart instantly says 59, if that's what I'm going for. I do imagine in my future a big collection of Les Pauls from my gold top, a 59, something from the 60s, something black with gold hardware, something from the 70s. I want that 3 or 4 to line up on the wall. As much of a dream as that is. It's madness. I don't know. We'll find out if I ever get there. But you might be here at the start of my Les Paul collection with my gold top and maybe a burst. Okay, so I think at the moment the strongest contenders, either the 335 or the Les Paul. I don't have a 335 and I have a P90 Les Paul, so I still have place for my first humbucker and my first burst. Followed by a Fender Custom, and then the Ibanez. I feel like the Ibanez is me trying to get back to my childhood, but it really doesn't suit me now. So I think I will take that off the list. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to get to at the end of this video, but I will tell you it's not going to be that one. As wonderful as it must be to play. Very technical, I'm sure. Okay, what's the last page? This is the most frustrating page in the guitar buying world, I think. The Strat, any ATB page. Because everything is normally sold or on hold. So I might put together 10 grand and it says on hold. I might put together 12,995 for my first 3-tone burst. That looks stunning. And it says sold. So what I'm going to do, if I decide to go down this route, and I would spend more on a vintage guitar than a new one. So, you know, finance is something I would think about for sure. But I would want to have gone and played vintage guitars. I haven't actually really played any of these. So one day soon, I'm going to make an appointment to go and see ATB, hopefully. And I'll also make a trip to Denmark Street in London, where you've got a few of the old shops all around there now. They're not necessarily on there. I need to have a vintage Fender Strat. I've fallen in love with the idea over the last 6 to 12 months. And I've seen some great people on YouTube playing them. Just those bursts. This 63, this 65, this 59. At 19,995, I'd have to be sure that it was, you know, a decent investment. Prices of these vintages have come up so much. You know, the bottom could fall out, but I really don't think it will. I'm not sure. I don't think they'll go through a stratospheric rise. I don't think a 59 Strat is ever going to be £250,000. But I don't think it's going to come below a certain amount. Yeah, whether that's 15 or 20 or 25 grand eventually. So I would hold that guitar for the rest of my life once I'd bought it. So I need to go and visit a few shops like this and then see what it's all about. This brings me to another guitar on here, which I also want to get back into. I had an Epiphone SG. I bought it for £200 from a pawn shop in England, and then had it for about 3 or 4 years probably, and sold it for about £150. You know, when you're 18 or whatever, 150 quid is a couple of nights out, big nights out at that time. And probably, I just thought that's what I'll do. It's a shame. Wonder which one on this page would you go for? My instinct is a red one. And I think out of this lot, if I had the money sitting in my pocket and I was in the shop, I would probably go for this. I'd look at this 69. It's a third of the price. Now, I don't know what pickups are on here and why the difference is so huge in price. Is it just the year? So I need to do a lot more research before I start putting money into these sort of things. But that's part of the fun. So when I get down to, or if I get down to ATB, I'll try and at least film something, whether it's just the guitars on the wall and I can't actually film anything else. Yeah, it's a bit nerve-wracking filming in public. I've tried it before with other channels that I've tried. Anyway, I'm sure this has been long enough now. So there we have my shortlist. Custom Shop Strats, ES335s, Gibson Custom Shop 60th Anniversaries, or my first real vintage Strat or SG. I've got a hard decision ahead, but it's great fun, so I'm not complaining. I hope you can join me down in the comments and give me either advice or just let me know what you would go for. If money was no object, what would you go for? Have you bought a really expensive guitar before, and what did you find? Like, was it a regret? Was it something you wish you hadn't done? You know, it doesn't sound any better than a modern guitar. Whatever it is, let me know. And if you want to see the next video in this series where I will probably unveil and give first impressions on whatever I buy, please subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up. I want to start increasing my viewer numbers. Obviously that means probably making my content more interesting. But at the same time, if you've liked this in any way, please give it a thumbs up. That will really help. And we'll see you, or I'll see you when I have the guitar in hand. I don't know when that will be, but hopefully pretty soon. So have a good day. Cheers.